We've used the term stochastic terrorism before on the show. Stochastic terrorism is sort of the idea that while not being a physical in-person terrorist yourself, if you have a big enough audience and you float an idea to them of doing something, with a big enough audience, it becomes statistically more and more likely that someone in the audience is going to listen to what you're saying, and they're going to go out there and they're going to commit an act of terror. We've looked at a number of these examples in the past. One is a guy who used to listen to Glenn Beck rant and rave about an organization called the Tides Foundation, and was actually intercepted by California Highway Patrol, armed and heading to do something at the Tides Foundation. Comet Ping Pong is another example. When Republicans were going crazy about the Pizzagate conspiracy theory and this pizza shop in Washington, D.C., and saying they're harboring pedophiles, they're helping pedophiles, whatever it was they were saying. Pedophiles are meeting here and trafficking young kids or whatever. A guy actually went and shot up Comet Ping Pong. So there's a real effect here. Republicans, a Republican audience listening to the chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party, John Bennett, who's also running for House of Representatives, they cheered when John Bennett said, we should kill Fauci. We should put Fauci in front of a firing squad. Now, I'm certain that John Bennett is pro-life, and I'm certain that John Bennett is a Christian, because there's a jersey up on the screen behind him that says Ephesians, I don't even know how to pronounce it. And there's a cross. And so this is a pro-life Christian guy, in case you weren't sure. And here he is saying, well, we should put Fauci in front of a firing squad.
We're fighting communist Democrats.
No, you're not. There's no communists in the House and Senate.
Establishment rhinos. We're fighting against a system that stole the election in 2020, and nobody's been held accountable. We're in a war with bureaucrats that have forced vaccine mandates on us, mask mandates on us. And you know what? They're pushing this wokeness confusion down our throats now. And by the way, we should try Anthony Fauci and put him in front of a firing squad.
A firing squad? Whoa. And the crowd loves it. They love it.
And for the Secret Service, if they're listening, I'm not advocating we kill Anthony Fauci until he's convicted of his crimes through a court.
Right. A nice little clarification there. Now, of course, this guy is very pro-life, and he respects life, and he's Christian and all these different things. Now, threatening government officials in the United States is illegal under federal law. My guess is the law doesn't apply to John Bennett, right? That wouldn't really make any sense. So kill Anthony Fauci, put him in front of a firing squad. This is unfortunately not something we can just laugh off and write off. There are really, truly dangerous people who want to see Fauci dead. You know how we know it isn't a joke? Fauci has full-time armed security. He did anyway for the years during the heart of the pandemic. I don't know if they've been able to ease up on it now or not. My guess is if stuff like this is going on, he probably still needs the full-time armed security. Now, lots of people would say something like this about a public figure in a social media status update, and you would get a visit from law enforcement. If you said it about the president or vice president or maybe even the Speaker of the House or a prominent senator, you might even get a visit from Secret Service. And yet here, it's become normal to call for executions in public forums. And then you say to Secret Service, I'm not really, we'll kill them after we try them or whatever, even if why would they even get the death penalty for whatever you think they did, which they didn't? This is proof that you have this critical mass of lack of intelligence glorified by a base of people who are extraordinarily radical, and the fear mongering that's used against them. Remember, this is the reactionary toolbox, can be used to actually trigger them to go out and take real world actions. And remember that we were told time and time again that this movement that is being built, the MAGA movement and so on and so forth, this is a special movement. This is a unique movement. It was unique in that these were a lot of people who, because they had never followed or been involved in politics before, they had no idea of what was over the line when it came to political discourse. And as a result, Trump combined with these folks who had, I don't know, they just like, I guess Trump's the guy. I never really paid attention to politics. What Trump does must be normal. It immediately normalized, for lack of a better term, this type of political discourse, locking up people that haven't even been charged with a crime, talking about eliminating people, firing squads, etc. Now, how many of them are actually willing to do violence? I don't think it's that many. But the thing is, think through some numbers. 74 million people voted for Donald Trump. If it's only 2% of those voters that are willing to do violence, right? That's still 1.5 million people. That's a lot of people who are potentially willing to do violence. A lot of the people willing to do violence also don't vote at all. So it's probably actually an even higher number. Unfortunately, when you look at numbers like 1 in 4 Republican voters believe some aspect of QAnon, it's probably more than 2% of those Republican voters that are theoretically willing to use violence. And you know what? We know it's more. How do we know? A recent poll found that about 30% of Republicans believed it would be acceptable to use violence. Now, that doesn't mean they'd be the ones doing it. But if 30% of Republicans say violence would be acceptable, at least a portion of them would be willing to go out and do it. So unfortunately, the numbers aren't good. And we're going to go on now to something else where it's really not looking good.